Welcome to Stitchery Stories, where textile artists share their life in fabric and thread, inspiration, techniques, disasters and delights. And I'm Susan Reeks, enthusiastic embroiderer and textile art dabbler who also loves podcasting. So take a break and enjoy our light-hearted chat, and please share with your friends so they can enjoy it too. Hello and welcome today to our lovely guest, Iona Barker. Hi, Iona.
Hi, Sue. How you doing?
Oh, well, not too bad. As you can all hear, I've got a terrible cold and sound like I'm speaking through a snorkel, but I decided to just go ahead anyway because I was so excited about chatting with Iona about her wonderful project. So I've got a bit of a bio here from Iona. So Iona is the founder of Say It Ain't So, which is a non-profit organisation encouraging creativity through running free hand sewing classes across the country.
That's it.
As Iona has written here, for the last 10 years, I've been working as a designer and seamstress in the fashion and costume industry. Whilst maintaining a short-lived job in the fashion industry, I suffered severe burnout due to working almost 80 hours a week for 6 months. I learned very quickly that working those kinds of hours and not allowing any downtime is not sustainable and is especially damaging to physical and mental health. I can wholeheartedly say that sewing saved me. She began Say It Ain't So in 2010 upon returning to Scotland after working in London. And she began Say It Ain't So in a bar in Glasgow one evening a week as a way to force herself to be creative, and just carried on doing it. And a bit here about Say It Ain't So. It's a non-profit organisation that uses the disappearing art of hand sewing to unite, empower and encourage people to be creative. Say It Ain't So believes that creativity can save lives, improve mental well-being and bring people together in a fun and encouraging learning environment. Wow, there we are. So there's lots of interesting stories lurking in all of that, Iona, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's been lovely to connect with you. I think I found you on possibly Facebook. I can't remember where I find people these days, but it's either Facebook or Instagram. But something must have popped up that somebody had shared, and
Great.
I thought, that sounds like an interesting project. I must speak to her.
Oh, thank you.
So before we kind of dive a bit further into your Stitchery story, would you like to share with us, Iona, what you're working on and what has got you excited?
Okay, well, so in the past couple of weeks, I have been working on some new classes, and we had our first Say Ain't So in England, which was really, really exciting.
Oh,
and it was
whereabouts was that?
It was in York. It was in York, and it was on the 17th of April, and we had 22 people, and we held it in Brewdog in York. And it was great. So we actually made Nyan Cat. I don't know if you've heard of Nyan Cat. It's the internet meme cat that's basically a Pop-Tart cartoon of a cat who's a Pop-Tart and he flies through space with a rainbow tail. It's very catchy and very annoying. It's Nyan Cat. It's like a Japanese kind of meme thing. So we made him. We made that cat. And we've got lots of stitchers who are fans of cats and dogs. Yeah. So we made that. And that was really good because it was our first one in England. So we've got 5 in Scotland, 5 classes across Scotland. I was really keen to start one in England because we've picked up quite a large following in England and don't offer any classes down there. So I thought, do you know what? Let's just give it a shot. Let's give it a go. So we did, and it was so much fun.
Oh, excellent. And why did you pick York? That's my hometown, by the way. So
really? So my family's originally from Yorkshire, and I love Yorkshire. Yorkshire's always been like my second home.
Brilliant.
And it just York's such a beautiful place, and I was really, you know what, I was wanting to go for myself. I was like, York is so beautiful and so pretty that if I go down, I'll just spend the day there and just look at all the pretty buildings and things. So, and also one of the girls who came to my original very first lots of classes in 2010 actually lives in York now. So I was kind of thinking that if we did continue the class in York as a regular class, then there would be a few people there who could run it for me.
Right,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah,
because that's the thing. You can't stretch yourself that thin, can you? Be everywhere all the
yeah,
time. It's not
no.
possible, sadly.
Yeah, I've got a really amazing group of girls who
Brilliant.
teach my classes for me when I can't. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Cool. Oh, well, that is really exciting. Expanding out into a different country now.
yeah, I know we're going international.
Yeah. Fabulous. Now, before I forget, because I just about had, the best way to find out about Iona's project is through the sayitaintso.org website. And on there, there's also the social media links, but basically she's also on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. And I will also include the email address. So all of those links will be on Iona's episode on the stitcherystories.com website, but it's sayitaintso.org to get more information about that. So, how did you first get interested in sewing, Iona, and kind of who taught you and what did you do? And maybe you want to just kind of share a bit more, if you want, about the story behind, what made you actually decide to start up Say It Ain't So as well. It's all part of that journey, isn't it?
Yeah, of course. Well, when I was really, really little, when I was about 3 years old, I was very creative. My dad's built houses, so I spent a lot of my time on the building sites with him, hammering nails into stuff and pretending to build my own house, kind of thing. And I was very creative. And I used to kind of pick up things really easily. And create. I was always drawing. I was always drawing on the walls of my dad's brand new houses, which he was thrilled at. And I don't know. I just became really creative, and my grandmother really encouraged me. She had a Singer sewing machine, a manual sewing machine.
Yeah.
And I used to watch her use it, and it was so beautiful. The sound it made, it just was so lovely. And my mum had this like kind of 80s Singer sewing machine as well. It's a bit like a modern one.
Yes.
Obviously, it'd be vintage now. And it was really noisy and loud, and it kind of scared me a little bit. So when I went, I would prefer to go to my grandmother's and watch her sew. And she taught me, because I was quite a mischievous child. I would cut things up that I wasn't supposed to. I would draw on the walls of my dad's houses. I would be doing lots of things just to kind of like, test my parents, I guess, just see what I could get away with. And my grandmother said, do you know what, if she's going to cut things up, then we might as well show her how to sew it back together again.
Yeah, brilliant.
Just picked it up, and I started making, maybe like before I went to school, before I was even in school, I started making clothes for my dolls and my teddies, and just kind of, building things and making things. And I guess the more acceptable, societally acceptable thing for me to do in school and university was sewing and fashion, because in the 90s I grew up on a farm. I grew up in the country in Dumfries and Galloway, so
girls don't do building.
Exactly. And it's one of these things that like I am really like, I love architecture, I love engineering. So I decided, I guess like I was told no a lot in school. Yeah. I was told no an awful lot. Like, I want to do this, I want to do that. No, you can't do that. And I would always be like, why not? Well, because you're a girl, and that's really.
Oh, crikey, and that's it's really sad to hear that still goes on. I mean, you're a lot younger than me, but yeah, to still get in the no bit because you're a girl thing is, dearie me.
Yeah, it's really frustrating.
Yeah, it's horrible, isn't it?
So I decided to, do you know what? If I can't be an architect, I can't be an engineer. I'm gonna build clothing. I'm gonna construct clothing. I'm gonna engineer clothing. So that's what I did. So I went and studied fashion design, and worked in fashion for a while. Worked in costume design for about 10 years, and yeah, I guess when I moved to London, that's when everything kind of got turned upside down. And because London is a very, very, compared to Scotland,
there's no comparison.
Oh no, not at all. I mean, everything's like, living expenses are low up here, and lifestyle is it's easy, and it's quite simple. Whereas in London, it's very fast paced and expensive and quite stressful. And I didn't really prepare myself properly for it, and ended up really suffering when, after 6 months of 80-hour weeks, it really it kind of broke me.
Yeah, it does, and I think at the time while you're doing that, you're not always aware of. You're absolutely worn out.
Yeah.
And kind of what's causing it, but you also keep on doing it. I know similar thing. It's happened to me. And while you're stuck in the trenches trying to survive and just get through all this stuff that you've got to do, you just can't give yourself any freedom to escape somehow. It is a really hard situation to be in, Iona.
Yeah, I think as well we test ourselves as well, don't we? Like I like to challenge myself and see.
Yes. Let's keep on battling on.
Yeah, so I challenge myself. I can work 80 hours. I'm going to do this, and I didn't. I did, but I just ended up, absolutely, falling to pieces. And then sewing. I mean, sewing was always hand sewing. Was something that I did when I was feeling low anyway, and it was something that I did to make myself feel better, just because I knew that I was taking my mind off of whatever it was that was troubling me for an hour or two. And even like when I was little, when I was upset about something, I would go to my bedroom and I'd make like an outfit for my teddies, or I'd make a bag, or I'd make, just hand sewing.
Yeah.
And it really was so therapeutic for me. And I've kind of taken that with me as I've grown. And when I moved back to Scotland from London, I moved back, I got brought back by my family because they were concerned.
Yeah.
And moved back to Scotland, and I learned that home economics was being phased out of schools across Scotland. And I'm not sure how it is in England, but sewing and cooking, and the Scottish government doesn't deem it as important, or
right. No, it's still. I mean, my boy is nearly 14, and he still does cookery, and they've moved on to the first year of the GCSEs now. So, but in the first 2 years, in years 7 and 8, they did some sewing and textiles, and they did DT. They made stuff out of wood. So they still did the sort of stuff we did 30 odd years ago. So it's different in every school, though, I think, as well, isn't it, as to who's interested in what resources everyone has got.
A lot of home economics departments now that are just empty, which is a real shame, considering how people's diets are and things these days.
It's terrible, isn't it?
And so I was kind of shocked. And I mean, home economics in my school was never that good. Like, it was really, we made, I think it was like a frog with beans in it. and maybe like an apple crumble or something. And no, it wasn't my favourite subject. And I think a lot of people felt the same. When I speak to people now about, their experiences, their previous experiences of sewing, it tends to be quite a negative one, because, their teacher was mean, or they did it for like 6 months. They did it for like 6 weeks and couldn't do it, so gave up.
Yeah.
But if we think about it, like, hand sewing is such an important skill, and it's been part of our culture as humans for tens of thousands of years.
Yes.
There's no way that we could have evolved and moved to colder climates if we hadn't figured out how to bind animal skins together.
Exactly. And one of my guests a couple of weeks ago, Karen Ruane, she's really into that whole thing about women using cloth to protect the families and keep them warm, and done a whole, when she did a degree, and it's a big thing. She was talking about that quite a lot as well. And another guest, Amy James, from one of my earlier guests, she had the same kind of theme, that she had mental health issues, and has found that getting into craft and sewing and patchwork and quilting and all those kind of things has really given her a different perspective, and has given her a new career as well. So it's really interesting, isn't it, how people are coming back to something that everyone seems very interested in just throwing away.
Exactly. Well, I think with the kind of mass production of like the 80s and 90s, in terms of like clothing and fashion and things. I mean, my mum used to make me clothes, make me and my sister clothes, and I've got loads of photographs, and they are hilarious. They're proper like 90s. We look like sweetie wrappers. It's just like purple lame and black velvet. which is, it's really,
I had that as well, and the knitting, and then she'd run out of wool, and I'd get this like random bit around the back where she'd run out of wool, and thought, no, I'm not going to buy another roll of wool just to finish that neck thing off. So it's like red jumper with a grey bit around the back and stuff. So
brilliant,
lovely.
And that's it. Like I remember my mum making these things and my grandmother making these things, and at the time I was like, wow, you made that? Like that was just a pile of fabric, and then you made it, and now I wear it. It's just really, and then I know a lot of people now who are just, starting to get back into making clothes for their kids themselves and stuff. And I love making my own clothes. Like I trained in fashion and I've worked in costume for the past 10 years. So I really enjoy making my own clothes and wearing it, because then A, there's nothing else like it.
Yes.
And B, I know where it's come from. I try and source as ethically friendly fabric as I can. And it's just really good fun. Just at the moment I've been making a lot of shorts. I'm hoping and praying for sunshine in Scotland.
But this lovely hot weather that we've got at the moment.
Well, I don't know. I know. It's quite sunny today in Glasgow, but I don't know if you've been to Glasgow. It can change.
A long time ago, yeah.
Like, all 4 seasons in one day here.
Yeah, well, it's a bit like that on the Yorkshire coast as well, I think.
Yeah.
Right, so that's really interesting how through your own personal experience and coming back to this idea of feeling calm and safe almost with your sewing, to then move towards setting up Say It Ain't So. As you said, you set it up in a bar in one evening in Glasgow. So what was the inspiration? What made you turn from being something that you did personally to make you feel better to thinking, hang on a minute, this idea, let's run these classes? What was the inspiration behind that?
Well, I just realised that if it's happening to me, if it makes me feel better, then it must have the same effect on others. When I moved back from London, I was really, really depressed. I had serious depression, anxiety, and I refused to leave. I couldn't leave my flat in Glasgow, and I really struggled mentally for a couple of months. And a lot of my friends in Glasgow were like, you need to get out. Like, you need to force yourself to get out, to meet people, to talk to people, to tell them your story. And if you've got other people, if you're waiting on other people, you've got accountability.
Yeah.
If other people are waiting on you, then I'm less likely to not show up one day. If I just decide to stay in the flat because I don't want to go outside.
Yeah.
Then other people, if I've got other people who are relying on me for this sewing class, then I need to just get out and do it. And that was a big turning point for me, because I was spending all of my time inside, just really, really, really depressed, just, sleeping, not eating, not looking after myself. And this was just what the kind of effect that London had on me.
Yeah.
And obviously, like, complete burnout. After you burn out, you have to recover. And this was my recovery time. So I thought, right, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do these sewing classes. It's one night, and it's a pub. It's Tuesday night, 6:30 in the pub. I see who comes along. And slowly but surely, people kept coming back.
Yeah.
And it just kind of grew. And I thought, we had a lot of students, a lot of young professionals come to the class, and they all had their own stories of like mental health and stress. And this, they wanted time from their family, or time for themselves. They could sit and have a cocktail and sew something fun. And it really made me realise that sewing groups and the whole kind of social aspect of it is so important. And it really, like, the social aspect really helped me as well in terms of my confidence and getting back on my feet. So that was kind of why I decided to do it. Well, that's kind of why it happened, really.
Yeah, and I think it's quite amusing about setting up in a bar as well, because the ladies from the Profanity Embroidery group who I spoke to at the beginning of the year, they had the same thing. They had that, well, we'll have this, we're going to set this group up about sewing, embroidery and sweating. And they said the same thing, the door kept opening and these people kept kind of coming in, and they're still meeting in a pub now. So that's quite an interesting, I'm busy with the Embroiderers Guild, the Hull and East Riding branch, but the sociability side of things is why we go, really. I mean, on Saturday I didn't pick up a piece of fabric, I organised things and chatted, and we got some folios from the guilds and we were looking at those, and I thought, well, I haven't even picked up my sewing, never mind, I've had a lovely afternoon.
Yeah, that's great. Well, we forget that, like, the pub has been such a massive part British culture for so long, for hundreds of years. And it's the perfect place to meet and to sit and to chat, and people feel, especially if it's a nice warming environment, friendly environment. People want to stay, and they want to sit and have fun. And time disappears. I don't know if you notice this when you're sewing, but time stops or disappears.
Yes, absolutely. I'll just finish this bit. Oh hell, I've been doing this for 3 hours.
Totally. So our classes only run for 2 hours, but people, it's so funny because, and I if I'm teaching a class, I'll go around and tell everyone, right, you've got 4 or 5 minutes, you've got half an hour, you've got 15 minutes, you've got 20 minutes. And then always just like, what? Why? How?
Yeah.
Where's the time gone? It's crazy.
And when you're doing the classes, Iona, do you have a kind of a pre-planned idea? Do you have a project that people are going to work on over the... Because presumably are these people who come to classes, are they learning the skills, maybe some long forgotten or never were taught, those kind of... Yeah.
So we aim the classes at complete beginners. So our plan is to introduce people to a new skill. So these people, most of the time, the people who come onto the classes have either sewn a little bit in school or never before, and are usually quite skeptical of what, they're usually like, oh, I'm not going to be able to do this, or I can't do this. And then 2 hours. And we have a calendar. So we run the classes on 6 months calendar. And they're weekly, and we have them in Glasgow, Edinburgh, Aberdeen, Stirling, and Ellen at the moment.
Yeah.
And all the classes do the exact same thing.
Right.
So last night, for example, the Tuesday night was a class on the May King and Queen, because it was the 1st of May. Yeah. So all the classes across the country made these masks for, covered in flowers and and leaves and things to celebrate the 1st of May. So we always do the same thing at every class, and always pre-planned. So that could be things on films, on popular culture, on art, just, animals, food. We do cakes and pizza and sushi and things like that. And it's absolutely anything that can be made in 2 hours that's easy, using your basic hand sewing stitches. And it's really just to get people to get used to sewing, learn sewing, enjoy it, and want to do it again.
Right, exactly. And these classes are free, aren't they?
Yes. Yeah. So we're a non-profit, so any money that we make through selling of sewing kits and fundraisers and things basically pays for materials and supplies for the classes and the class leaders.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Because that's, I was just wondering how that worked as well. So, that's really nice then to enable people from any, no matter what their circumstances are, people can come along and join in, can't they? So, of
course. Well, this was the thing when I came back from London. I was completely flat broke. Like, I was totally didn't have anything. Yeah. And for me to go along to a class and to learn something fun and not have to pay for it. Yeah. We have donations boxes at the classes, so if anybody wants to make a donation towards material, they can. But it's not compulsory. And so it just doesn't matter who you are, where you come from, what your background is, how much money you earn. It doesn't matter. Anyone can be creative, and that's what we're really trying to put across, is that you being creative and sewing is really good for you. So
that's absolutely wonderful. Now, what would you say, as you've been doing this a while now, but you've recently been focusing on it full time too? What would you say the high point of your non-profit journey has been so far, Iona? Because running some sewing classes in one place is, fair enough. Then to expand and to want to grow it is a different thing altogether. So what would you say the kind of high points has been so far?
Well, I definitely think that growing it has been a high point. When our second class was in Edinburgh, and it was because one of my pupils, one of my regular participants at the Glasgow class, was moving across to Edinburgh. Yeah. And I thought, this might be a perfect opportunity for us to give it a shot in Edinburgh. Yes. So we did, and it went really well. And then the same thing happened in Dundee, and then the same thing happened in Aberdeen. Unfortunately, our Dundee class is no longer running. We're just waiting on funding coming through for that to continue it. But I think the fact that we're in 5 cities and in towns, and that people, there's a demand for it now. People want it. Like, I've got lots of friends in England And even in Europe and the States, and they were like, when are you bringing Sadie? So when's that happening? Like, give me time to find money. so yeah, it's been absolutely wonderful. It's been 8 years, but I think people, they get it now, because for a while it was, all I got was, when I said I'm running sewing class, free hand sewing classes in pubs and bars. And people will be like, what? Hand sewing? Bars? What? Yeah. People couldn't get it. They didn't get it, but they get it now because they can see how beneficial it is, and they can see what we make, because we use social media quite a lot.
Yes.
People can see, we post up what we make every week and things. So,
and I think that gets people engaged as well, doesn't it? Because then they can see, well, actually, this isn't a perceived elitist kind of thing. It's anybody can make what we're making.
Yeah, literally anyone.
Yeah, and just join in and have fun. And I'm sure. Do you have people who thought they were utterly uncreative and had no idea and are coming out with some really lovely things?
Yeah, it's amazing. It's so funny so there's many things happen. One of them is boyfriends and husbands. Okay, so they get dragged along to the classes because it's in a pub and they can sit and have a pint while the wind goes off. I'm so persistent. I'm belligerent. So I'm like, right, you mate, you're getting involved. Here's a pattern. Here's some fabric. Here's some scissors. So why shouldn't you sew? Oh, I'm a man. And I'm like, I don't. Doesn't matter. Like, just try it. It's going to benefit you too. And they do. And most of the time, they grumble and moan like through the start of it. And then by the end, they're having an absolute whale of a time. They're having more fun than their girlfriends or the wife.
Oh, fantastic! Oh, that's really good. And do they tell any of the friends, or are they all a bit? Oh, yeah, I've been sewing yesterday.
We get quite a lot of people who work in offices like IT and things, and it's really sweet because they set their what they've made on their desks in their works, and so their colleagues will come past and go, "Oh, that's amazing! Where did you get that?" And they'll tell the story about the class, and then bring their friends along the next time. And it's just amazing because people, the look on their faces when they sit down and they go, oh my God, I can't believe I'm going to do this. And then they do it, and then they're so happy and they're so proud of themselves. And that is to me, the most amazing thing, is somebody who thinks they're not going to be able to do it, don't want to do it, and then they end up having a great time and loving it.
Oh, do you know, that's absolutely wonderful. I mean, we've got the video switched off here, but if you could see me at the moment, I'm just sitting there with a big grin on my face, just laughing, thinking, what a lovely, really nice to get people back into being creative and sharing things as well. So it's just really, really brilliant idea, and well done you. It's an old-fashioned idea as well, isn't it? In the fact that let's all sit together and sew, but it's so old-fashioned. It's now trendy.
Yeah, but it's old-fashioned, but it's also culturally so important.
Exactly.
We've been getting in groups and sewing for millennia. Yeah. And there's a reason why we've been doing it for so long. And there's also maybe a reason why we stopped. And I think that's really, now more than ever, we need to really unite as a society or a culture, I guess. And
I think so. I mean, I work in technology. I've always worked in technology. I started off as a mainframe programmer. You can't get much more technology than that. But to me, there's this over-reliance on technology and an over-reliance on screens and things. And says me, who earns my living through screens with the internet. Mm-hmm. But you do have to switch off. And I think that's the thing. And I notice it in he's nearly 14, my son, trying to get him to develop some sense of awareness that actually you've been staring at your phone, or you kick him off his phone and then he's on the Kindle, or then you kick him off the Kindle and he's watching telly. For goodness sake, you've got a bedroom, and he's a creative boy, and he has to be reminded, well, go and get your Lego. He still loves Lego. He'll get his Lego out, or he'll draw on. He needs a bit of a shove from me to. And it is an addiction almost, isn't it? You're just chasing them around thinking, well, then he'll say to me, habit. And he'll say to me, well, what did you do with your phone when you're married? They weren't invented that. I used to sit in my room and make clothes for my dollies and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. It's a weird one because you don't like kids at school now. They're actually in Scotland. They're phasing out quite a lot of the creative subjects, or they're not putting as much emphasis on the creative subjects now, and they're increasing the technology subjects like computing and things like that. And they're using iPads and tablets and things more. And it's quite alarming. I mean, I've got nieces a niece who's 10 years old, and all of her friends have got mobile phones, and they all, it's good because they can all keep in touch and communicate, and my sister can keep in touch with her and stuff. But I think that it's quite alarming, the fact that kids are spending so much time in front of the screen and not being encouraged to be creative. And it's creativity that, creative problem solving, memory function, your basic cognitive function in your brain. This is like hand sewing, knitting, writing, drawing, painting, sculpting, all these things using your hands. They all help your brain and your cognitive function and your memory and your ability to solve problems creatively. And my mission in life is to get people to realise that these skills are so important. Like, for example, Alzheimer's and dementia, they've done studies where people who are more creative and use their hands more are less likely to get problems later on in life with dementia and Alzheimer's and things like that. So, the studies are coming out, like the information's out there, and it's quite, it's really, really important, I believe.
Good on you. Not quite a one-woman crusade, but I bet it feels a bit of a lonely space sometimes. It feels like banging your head against a brick wall.
Oh yeah, definitely. Definitely.
Now, we normally chat about if you've got things maybe didn't go quite as well as planned, or UFOs. Do you have any UFOs? I'm sure you must. If you've been sewing all these years, I bet you've got some funny UFOs to share with us, Iona.
So, right, I'm obsessed with quilts. Right. I love quilts, right? I'm 32 years old, and I've made one quilt, maybe two quilts in my whole life. And I love them. I think they're absolutely beautiful. I don't have patience. I have zero patience. I want things done yesterday. So when it comes I've got, and as well, I collect fat quarters. Right. I've got this collection of fat quarters, just beautiful colours, and I'm just like, right, this. So Christmas, I've got these beautiful Christmas, festive fat quarters. Last year, I was like, right, I'm going to cut them all out, and I'm going to make some Christmas quilts and have them draped over the sofa when people come around at Christmas time. No, I didn't. Honestly. So I've got boxes and boxes and boxes of fat quarters, and I'm like, I could get someone else to make them for me, but that totally obviously defeats the purpose of making a quilt. The whole process is in making it yourself. But I just take patience. I do have the patience. I start cutting things out, and then I've seen a few quilts. Friends have made quilts, and the detail and the work that's went into them is absolutely stunning. And I'm like, oh.
So you feel overwhelmed before you start then? Exactly. You're trying to create this fabulous quilt.
Yeah.
So maybe we need to rein it back a bit and just start.
Just one piece of
I've used that horrible just word, haven't I? But just start sewing squares together by hand like people used to do in the olden days.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And clothes as well. I've got. I love making my own clothes. Yeah. I've got an overlocker, and I love using. I trained in sportswear when I was at uni, and I love making clothes out of jersey and stretch and things. And I just collect it wherever I go. Just go and I just collect fabric and cupboards and rooms. And I think that's quite common for us stitchers. We tend to just collect things thinking that we're going to use it one day.
I think the word we're looking for is hoarding.
Yeah, I was trying to avoid that, but I'm trying to avoid using that word. But yeah, you're right.
No, I know enough friends to say that it's hoarding. Now, you see, I don't have a hoard because I moved around quite a bit. And when I came back from France, I knew I could only make 2 trips back with one large van. So the hoard had to go. So it got given away. So I've got very much of a hoard now. But that's quite funny. Yeah,
it's great. I just acquire things. People give me fabric, and then I can't say no. So especially when it comes to fabric, I just can't. I'm like, oh, I could use that for something. So yeah.
Yeah, then quite a few of my guests have also said the same, that people give them fabric. The lady I was speaking to last week, Laura, she gets given a lot of clothing that she then recycles, cuts up into fabric for her textile art pictures. So that's maybe something that you can think about as well. If people have got clothing, that can always be cut up and, made into things to make crazy cats out of or whatever it is you want to do. So we'll have to keep an eye on them when Iona's quilt makes its debut.
Never going to happen.
I'll be naughty now, aren't I? Oh, your beautiful coordinated Christmas set of stuff.
Like maybe Christmas 2020. You'll see it.
I've given up. I do look at it and think, oh, aren't they lovely? Wouldn't it be lovely to have all that? Susan, you are never, ever going to get round to making anything for Christmas. Just don't go there, girl. Oh, fantastic. Right, well, I could spend all day talking to you. So I was just wondering, as we kind of start to wrap up, and hopefully we've given people a taster of your project. It was really if you had any particular challenges along the way in terms of setting these up. I'm sure you probably feel like a bit of a one-woman band at times, and how do you how have you dealt with those?
Well, so at the start, I guess it was just trying to convince people that it was a good idea, because you say sewing, hand sewing to people, and automatically they just kind of roll their eyes and they think it's something that's twee, fashioned. And I'm marketing it now at a community level, but also like a corporate level. So people who work in different industries, say like IT, even like medicine and business and things like that. Like it's a way for them to unwind and to, it's therapeutic. So I really, for the past 8 years, really, I guess, struggled with trying to convince people that it does work. And now people are I've got loads of testimonials now of people saying, "Oh yeah, this is amazing, it does work," blah blah. But at the start, that was really challenging because I knew it worked personally, but I couldn't. Other people trying to convince other people was an issue.
And that's a classic marketing thing, isn't it? It's how well it's working, but it's sorting out the messaging so that people understand. And I think that's a very wise approach that you've taken in terms of targeting the groups of people who are stressed, etc., and who wouldn't necessarily have a lot of creativity in some respects in their lives, but to target them and to pick up on this whole wellness and mental health awareness now that there is. I think that's a really good way of turning that round. So rather than just saying, oh well, I've got some sewing classes, people think, well, so what, but I think when you've turned it round, the messaging that it's the benefits of it that help to promote it a lot more. And probably, are you getting that snowball effect now?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's amazing. Especially when we have in our class in Edinburgh, we have a lot of computer programmers and people who work in IT. Class in Glasgow, we've got a few doctors and surgeons that come along. Brilliant. So it's really fascinating to see them and to talk to them about how it helps them. And they're regulars. They've been coming for years, and they say that it's the one thing that they know that they can spend only 2 hours a week doing, and they feel so much better for it. And that 2 hours is, the time passes very quickly, but those 2 hours, they're completely preoccupied. The brain isn't thinking about what they were doing that day. The brain is focused on the task at hand, literally. It's really fascinating, actually, hearing other people's, how they, how it works for them. Yeah.
And have you got some of those testimonials on your website?
I do.
Right. So people can go and have a look at those as well, can't they? And go and, I do encourage everyone to go and check out Iona's website, Say It Ain't So. And that'll be interesting to go and, see what people's experience has been as well. Because obviously most of the audience for this podcast are dyed in the wool, excuse the pun, textile artists and people who love sewing and creativity. So I think it's really nice to see that you've expanding other people's horizons into something that we all absolutely love already. So well done.
Thank you so much. It's all about getting people who have never sewn before, or maybe have when they were little or younger or whatever, and getting them to do it again and enjoy it and love it as we do.
Fantastic. So there we are. We have filled up our time as ever.
Amazing.
The way to say that. So in terms of future plans and so on, obviously you're interested in trying to see how your York venture goes. So all the best with that. And really,
Thank
I think
you.
people can just keep an eye on social media for you and see if there's anything coming to their location.
Yes. Yeah, we'll be in a town near you soon.
Oh, that would be wonderful, wouldn't it?
Definitely. It's a plan.
Fantastic. Well, Iona, it's been absolutely wonderful speaking to you today, and I've thoroughly enjoyed learning about your Say It Ain't So project and your classes, and your story as well, that you've been brave enough to share with us as well. So it's been absolutely wonderful speaking to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. Cheers.
If you liked this episode and want to hear more, then please join the Stitchery Stories fan club so you can get an email when a new episode is released. It's a quick and easy way of listening and of keeping up with any news and offers from our lovely guests. Please visit stitcherystories.com to join the fan club. Of course, if you have iTunes, then subscribe there to automatically get new episodes, and why not leave us a review and rating whilst you are there. So that is the end of our Stitchery story for today. So keep stitching, keep smiling, and keep creating your very own Stitchery stories.